Hello everyone and welcome to my review of the upcoming Paladins Anniversary Patch. Let's start with the most significant update for the patch, the semi-new game mode, Siege Remixed. This game mode reintroduces 3 maps from the closed beta era of Paladins. Siege was originally a very different game mode from the variant we have today. Teams would fight over one of 3 randomly selected control points to spawn a siege engine. This is why early characters refer to the payload as a siege engine, by the way. The siege engine would then move automatically towards the enemy's base. On its way, you would have to ensure its survival, as it barricades through 3 gates and eventually destroys the enemy's vault. Upon the destruction of a vault, the game was concluded. Unfortunately, this version of Siege is not the one we're getting, though the patch notes hint that the original mode might be returning in the future. For now, Siege Remixed is pretty much exactly like the current Siege. The main difference being that the point and payload path are now randomly chosen from one of 3 locations. The maps are much bigger than our current Siege maps, and to accompany that, you can remount at any time. Initially while reading these notes, I thought I wouldn't care for this new Siege variant, but upon playing it in the PTS, I must say that it's a nice change of pace for the mode. I really like that the points change every fight. One problem I have with the current Siege is that if you have an unfavorable draft, the point fight can be unwinnable in many cases. With Siege Remixed offering different point battles, it allows for different strategies to flourish for each round, thus allowing for more interesting matches. My one teensy nitpick about this mode: I think the random point selection should only be for the beginning of the match. Afterwards, it should go in order from point 1 to 2 to 3. My praise for the variety in point battles is lost when you get the same capture point multiple times in a row. Even though I'm not the biggest Siege fan, I am very happy to see a semi-new game mode being introduced to Paladins. We should have been getting content like this in 2020 and 21, when Overwatch was down and out. This brings in players, not Octavia. Not mentioned in the current patch notes are the game mode rotations for this patch. TDM is out, which really sucks for those who like the mode. See you guys in 2 months! In the update stream, the devs state that they want to look at TDM, as it's not like TDMs from other games. I'm not exactly sure what they meant by this, as TDM is exactly like Overwatch, which is the main competitor. Maybe they're going to introduce a new rule set to the game mode in the future, who knows. Continuing with game mode rotations, Onslaught is back in. Just Onslaught, not King of the Hill. I am so happy about this. I know, I've ranted before about how I don't like Paladins removing game modes, but in my opinion, King of the Hill has never felt as fun to play as Onslaught, and it stung that it was in the Onslaught queue. Look forward to a future rant video on this topic. Onslaught is what got me hooked on Paladins. Because of King of the Hill using the same maps from Onslaught, I almost never see Foreman's Rise and Primal Court, which are both very fun maps. At least more fun than Koth Marauder Sport. Anyways, happy about this. Expect a lot of coordinated strats videos in the future. I am curious though, will anyone actually miss King of the Hill? Let me know. Normally I skip skins in my update reviews, but for the Pentaversary I thought I would make a special exception for the Celebrant skins. Maeve, Ceres, Victor, Ying, and Androxus are getting new celebratory skins for the anniversary. The skins are basic recolors, save for Ceres, who is using a modified version of her Divine skin. Gotta say, she looks so much better without the Sims 3 midriff. And Victor, whose skin is based off the the real model. The skins themselves are nothing crazy. Instead, the weapons are what steal the show. All the weapons have unique party-themed effects, but what makes them stand out is their unique kill effect. I think these are the first guns since the digitized weapons back in 2018 to have a custom kill effect. Special shout out to the Ceres weapon though. It's a crystal that shoots crystals! Definitely getting that. No skins for frontlines though. To continue the conversation about skins, let's talk about the Anniversary Pass. It's a free pass with only 12 levels. What you get from the pass are some sprays, avatars, a loading frame, and titles. But every few levels, you get free crystals or a chest, and a token to unlock one champion of your choice. If you or someone you know is thinking about trying Paladins, this update is the perfect time. The pass won't take very long to complete, and you can get 5 free champs from it. I also want to mention that one of the free chests you can unlock is the Anniversary chest that will contain the 5 skins mentioned earlier. The pièce de résistance of this pass is the Anniversary token you can receive at tier 12. This token allows you to obtain one previously limited skin from the old Battle Pass era of the game. Skins like 8 Oceans Maeve, Beach Bash Koga, Bandit Tyra, and more. My pick is going to be Redux Strix because I missed that pass and I want to be Zemos from Saints Row. Keep in mind that you only get one Anniversary token, so choose your skin carefully. I think this Anniversary Pass is a great thank you to players new and old for engaging with Paladins. I really feel appreciated as a Paladins player, and I'm sure this pass will entice some people to pick up the game. At last, we arrive at my favorite section to discuss, balance. Just a disclaimer that this review is based off of the current version of the PTS notes. The balance typically gets tweaked a bit before going live. Which can I just say? It's very nice to see the devs listening to feedback from the PTS. Good on you guys. First up is Bulldozer, getting a scaling increase going from 25% to 30% scaling. Fair change in my opinion. Bulldozer is typically not picked that much unless a team drafts with heavy deployables. Scaling-wise, this puts the item on an even playing field with Wrecker. Next, Rejuvenate is getting a price increase, going from 200 scaling to 225 scaling. It's a small increase, one that I think is fair. Rejuve at 10% feels great, but healing in this game is overall much stronger than when the item was last at 10%. I'm glad the cost was adjusted instead of the scaling bonus heal. Remember when it used to be 5%? Man, that sucked. Now for our champs. Atlas is up first with some buffs. Second Chance's cooldown is going from 18 to 16 seconds. This is fair. 16 seconds is still long enough to punish an Atlas for poor ability management. The change that has me a bit concerned, though, is the rework to the Temporal Divide talent. The talent still makes the stasis field huge, but now, instead of increasing its cooldown up to 20 seconds, the barrier uptime is reduced from 5 seconds to 3.5 seconds. Overall, I really like the idea of the barrier having small bursts of impact, rather than being used once every 20 seconds. However, I feel that the 3.5 second uptime is a bit too long. Keep in mind that Atlas has a card to reduce the stasis field's cooldown by up to 5 seconds when hitting setback. With Chronos and the card capped, Atlas can put up a gigantic barrier every 5 seconds. I think a 3-second uptime would feel more fair to fight. Next is Azan, getting base kit buffs for reasons. Granted, they're not big buffs, but like, why? Base health is going from 4250 to 4400. Sanctuary's cooldown is going from 14 to 13 seconds, and the passive Ire, which grants damage reduction based on taking or dealing damage, has had its rate of generation increased by 17%. The delay before decay has been increased from 2.5 to 3 seconds, and the rate of decay has been reduced by 10%. The only change I like here is to the Sanctuary's cooldown. The base health going up is not too much of a difference to really matter, but why is the Ire passive getting buffed? Please be reminded that this is one of the few passives you can activate by doing nothing. You could be twiddling your thumbs, fumbling every ability, but taking fire will still generate your Ire bar. Why would you make that generate faster? And the increased delay before draining? Do we want the Eternal talent to be even more useless? Azan's base kit is fine in my opinion. I think his talents are what need adjusting. One does very little, and the others nerf you. Next is Bomb King with the talent rework. Royal Subjects is getting the boot. This is the talent that increased Sticky Bomb's AoE by 20%, which was a big grievance in the community, specifically the ranked scene. The new talent is as follows. Gain a second charge of Poppy Bomb, but reduce its knockback on enemies by 40%. Now I personally think that Poppy Bomb is the most clunky movement skill in this game, but for those that are familiar with its jankiness, I'm sure this talent is going to be a must pick. Paladins has begun to shift towards mobility once again, and this talent is proof of that. Watch out for flying BKs. Speaking of movement, Caspian's Finer Things card, the one that grants movement speed after hitting shots with the gun, is getting its duration semi-reverted, going from 1 to 2 seconds. I'm very happy to see this card buffed, as the Shadow nerf it got a few patches ago where the uptime went from 3 to 1 second was very rough. I think 2 seconds is a fair middle ground. Of course, this card wouldn't be necessary if Caspian had an actual movement skill, but that's a discussion for another day. Next is Grover. His base weapon damage is being increased from 300 to 350. It's still too low to matter, but more damage will help a bit more in those flank battles, I guess. The Rampant Blooming talent is getting nerfed, with the initial heal going from 500 to 425, and the heal over time going from 300 to 275. These are such small nerfs that make no sense to me. I guess this is to accommodate the stupid talent keywords. Next up is Genos with some partial reverts to Astromark. The cooldown is going from 6 seconds back to 7. The initial burst heal is going from 450 to 400, and the duration of the mark is going from 12 to 11 seconds. This is still a stronger version of Genos when compared to the Emergence patch. Besides the cooldown nerf, I'm fine with these changes. Initially when Genos got the cooldown and uptime duration buffs, I was hoping that its loadout cards, which do the same thing, would have been adjusted. Instead they weren't, which led to Genos having a 4-second cooldown on Astromark with a 14-second uptime, if he had the mandatory build. That's a little ridiculous. I know a lot of people are upset about these changes, but I'm mostly in favor. Next is Kasumi, hopefully getting a rework. Yokai Doll now enters a new locked animation when she fires without a valid target. Okay. The community manager did state that Kasumi is being looked at for future patches, so for now, skip! Cringe Lord Kinessa is eating good this patch. The level 3 version of the Quickscope card is going to base kit, which means that Kinessa will scope in and out 60% faster! That's not all. She has a new passive, Tag 'em and Bag 'em. Hitting targets in sniper mode now reveals them to you for 1 second. Kinessa has a reveal now! Yay! Did we learn nothing from Strix? But wait, there's more. The Carbine mode had its bloom decreased, meaning that Kinessa will be even more deadly up close. Again, did we learn nothing from Strix? Last for the cringiest is 2 card changes. Generator, which lowers the cooldown of Depressor Mines, has had its scaling upped from 1.2 to 1.25 seconds. I'm sure the 2 people who still play Oppression are very happy about that. Since Quickscope is now in the base kit, Kinessa has a new card, Eagle Eye, which increases the duration of the passive reveal by 0.25 seconds scaling. Capped out, Kinessa can reveal you for 2.25 seconds! We're just replacing one must-pick card with another must-pick card. Great. Next up is Leon with a slight talent buff. Precision, the talent which grants stacking bonus damage from hitting weapon shots, is having the stack duration upped from 3 to 5 seconds. Even though I hate Leon, I'm glad her skillful talent is being buffed, instead of her other 2 annoying ones. Next is Makoa with a buff to the Shell Shield. The duration is going up from 4 to 5 seconds. Yay, we love half Shell Shield spam. Pip is up next with some questionable changes. Potion Launcher's damage is going up from 570 to 600. Now the main nerf to the character in exchange for the idiotic talent keywords is gone. Speaking of another change stemming from the idiotic talent keywords, is Combat Medic. The healing is going down from 750 to 700. But that doesn't mention the idiotic talent keyword. So in reality, the healing is going down from 900 a pop to 840 a pop. That's still more than enough healing for Pip players to heal bot it up with. These are just more changes stemming from the idiotic talent keywords. Did I mention that I think talent keywords are idiotic and should be removed? Next up is Ray with some nice buffs. Chain Heal's range is being increased from 120 to 150 units. The healing is also being upped from 520 to 600 on non-linked allies, and 676 to 780 on linked allies. Overall, this makes Chain Heal more reliable, bolsters Ray's self-sustain, and helps Ray keep up numbers-wise with other supports and their keywords. That's not it for Ray, because her Vivify has been reverted. Once again, Ray has full damage immunity while casting the ultimate, unlike the current 50% DR she has now. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but this is my favorite change here. The ultimate lost a lot of power with the DR change, and this reversion allows Ray to use the ult on herself once again. I'm sure that some are saying, oh now Rays are going to be selfish with the ult and provide no value. And to that I say, the support staying alive is pretty valuable. I've been waning off the support role recently, but these Ray changes just might get me playing again. Second to last is my man Terminus, with a buff I suggested. Well, I'm sure lots of others have too. Now Term's ultimate, Reanimate, will refill your power siphon. This is on top of the cooldown refund to Shatterfall introduced last patch. These two changes make Term's ult much more powerful. As previously, your cause of death would most likely be tied to a lack of Siphon. Reviving without the Siphon reset meant that you had to immediately position safely, because you would most likely die again if you didn't. Now, after ulting, Terminus can hop back into the fray immediately. I am very much in favor of these changes. Last up is a set of changes that seem like big buffs, but ultimately accomplish nothing. That's to Yagura's Unnatural Persistence, which is finally being touched since her release. Okay, let's simplify this. The starting healing rate has been increased from 25 health a second to 110 health a second. The max heal has been increased from 260 health per second to 275 health per second. With a whopping 15 health increase, I'm sure this talent will be played now. Oh yeah, this talent still does nothing in TDM, but I guess it doesn't matter since the game mode is being booted this patch. And that wraps up my review. Overall, a pretty solid patch. One that I look forward to playing since Onslaught is returning. There are some questionable changes incoming, but nothing that would hinder my enjoyment of the game. So, those are my thoughts, but I'd love to know yours. Let me know down below. Don't forget to clap that like button and laser down that sub button. Snatching the bell is also a great way to stay in the loop, and as always, I'm YellowNinja, and peace.